Wow, good video.
Hello. Welcome to episode 27 of the VoiceIt Show, ladies and gentlemen. It feels so great to be back again this week, and this week is really special. And we have a lot of our regulars joining in the chat and Hollywood vampires and Aerosmith fans. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And today is a really special day because it is the birthday of the original vampire, Mr. Alice Cooper. So we want to wish him a very happy birthday from the Voice It Show.
Yeah, happy birthday, Alice.
We love you, Mr. Alice Cooper, and a very, very happy birthday to him. And thank you all for tuning in once again this week. Last week we had Scotty Hagen Part 2. That was a blast. And this time it is going to be a blast once again because we have a Hollywood Vampires band member with us. He is a singer, songwriter, producer, keyboardist, guitarist, everythingist, backup vocalist for Aerosmith and Hollywood Vampires. He has co-written songs like Just Feel Better by Carlos Santana. He is also a solo artist and has a couple of his solo albums out as well. And it's a huge privilege and honor for us to welcome as the special guest on the Voice It Show today, Mr. Buck Johnson. Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hi. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you
on.
so much. Thank you for coming on this morning. And welcome to the Voice It Show. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's wow. It's really cool to talk to both of you and to all the people out there. And I never take it for granted that I get to share, with everyone that about all the beautiful things that I'm fortunate to get to do in life, and it's a privilege and an honor.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have mentioned that today is Alice Cooper's birthday. So
yeah.
Would you like to share with us some of your fondest memories with him, and what have you learned while working with him?
Well, Alice is a beautiful soul, and he's a legend, of course. He has thousands of interesting and unbelievable stories to tell, none of which I can repeat. I'll let him do that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a specific thing, but I just love his commitment to his art. He has a routine that he does every day. He's been sober for many, many decades now. So his routine is he gets up and he plays golf and he goes shopping and he does a rock show and he meets fans and then rinse and repeat, or play cards later with the guys, and that's about it. But his consistency, his pursuit of excellence, to never let the fans down, to always deliver a fantastic show, and right. I don't know. I just admire him so much, and his commitment to his art and his commitment to his family, his wife, Cheryl. They're just wonderful people. And in life, whatever it is you do, you want to be surrounded by like I said before, excellent people who inspire you. And I've been really lucky, and couldn't get any better than
True.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
So I wish Alice a very happy birthday. He's so he's younger
Yeah.
at heart than most people. What could I say?
True. True.
Amazing.
That is true. So true. So once again, happy birthday, Alice. So the vocal warm up that we saw at the very beginning,
Right.
is that the regular routine before
There's
every Christmas
Well,
concert?
we have warm up exercises we do, and then there's crazy antics that may come out of it, and it's never the same. I think whereas Alice is consistent and the same, he has his routine. Stephen is so in the moment and off the cuff, and I'm not saying one is right or wrong or better. It's just that's he's true to his personality, and so you never
Right.
know what he's going to do when we're on stage singing. He may change something, and he expects me to be right there with him, vocally. And
True.
so I always have to keep my eyes on him and keep my ears open. And that's fun, keeps you on your feet. So when we're in the shower, he likes to go in the shower sometimes because of the reverb, you get in the shower. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were filming. I just we're just cutting up, having fun. It was, next thing I know, it's on social media. I'm like, oh man, because we have done some vocal warm-ups where we just fall into this thing and it's so good and fantastic and cool. And,
Right.
I wouldn't say that was one of them, but we always have fun no matter what.
Yeah, I love
That
that.
is so cool. We so love it. So you were born in Alabama, and did you grow up there as well?
Well, actually,
Or
I was.
oh,
The truth is, I was born in Miami, Florida, because my dad was in the Coast Guard,
oh,
and
mhm.
so I lived there for the first 2 years of my life, and then we moved.
Okay.
My folks are from Birmingham, Alabama, so we moved back there, and
Hmm.
I grew up in a place called Shady Grove, Alabama, and in
Wow.
in the sticks. I didn't know that, as a kid. It was a great place to grow up. We had the woods,
Hmm.
and we stayed outside and
Wow.
played till it got dark. And parents didn't worry about us. We'd ride our bikes anywhere and everywhere, and walk to the stores, and so
Yeah.
I had a great childhood, and it's a family of singers and musicians. My mom is an amazing piano player. And
Wow.
my father and my uncles had a quartet, a Southern gospel quartet, and Southern gospel
Yeah.
quartets were very big in the South in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and still around. But they wore matching
Hmm.
suits, and they sung 4-part harmony, and it's actually what Elvis wanted to be, what he wanted to do, because they all had that pompadour hair, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
those moves, those Elvis moves, right? That's what they would
True.
do. And Elvis obviously found a different calling, but so
Hmm.
we traveled throughout the
Right.
South, doing concerts and shows and churches, and they had me up singing and performing with them from the time I was like 5 years old. And
Wow.
I didn't, again, it was just something we did. I think that growing up in a family of musicians and singers, it was music 24/7 in the house. And I think when you expose music to children in those formative years, it's so valuable because it's in all of our DNA. We all have the ability to sing in tune. Well, I would say 99.9% of us do. There's that
True.
one, small percentage that can't maybe, but most of us can sing in tune or have the ability to, and to keep rhythm, keep time. It's just if you nurture
Right.
it and foster it, if you never do it, you lose it, right? But
That is true.
and it doesn't mean you have to be a performer or a singer. It's like you don't play basketball or football with your dad or your cousins or whoever, your brothers, sisters, to become a professional athlete. Now, you may be given the gifts in life to be able to pursue that, but we know the benefits that doing those things, teamwork, working with others, the fun of it, singing, playing music together is good for the soul, and it enhances other parts of the brain as well. I don't think we've
Right.
kind of grasped the benefits that music can affect our lives. Take music out of a movie or take it out of a show or out of a restaurant, and
True.
how uninspiring and boring is that, right?
The vibe
So
died. Yes. True.
but so I think a lot of people with a measure of talent go into it to think, what is your motivation? Why do you want to create music, or why do you want to perform? If it's to be rich and famous, forget it. Do something else. I never did that. This is what we did with our lives. I was just really lucky and fortunate to have a measure of talent, and to be trained into it by my parents, not knowing I was being trained, and the
Right.
encouragement and the support to pursue it. And then after that, it was up to me to do the hard work and be persistent, because it's most of the time, it's not easy, and nothing in life that's really worth it usually is. There's hard times. And, we've all had a hard year, the last year. And
True.
the musicians in live entertainment have been suffering greatly. And I'm just thankful that that there are fans out there who still want us to come out there and play. And I know that soon, hopefully sometime this year, we'll be able to do that. And, what a
True.
great moment that's going to be,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we pray that comes soon.
Yes.
Totally.
And yeah, if it does come
Yeah.
this year, I'm seeing you in Paris. So that would be amazing.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
you have to let me know. And, so it'd be great to meet you in person.
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome.
Love that. So let's continue the story like after your childhood. So you graduated from school and the Birmingham Southern College. So tell me, how important is taking formal education, especially in music field, and how has it helped you in your career?
Well, for me, it was incredible, helpful, because I was exposed to other things. Birmingham Southern is a small liberal arts college, and has one of the, at the time, one of the best fine arts programs in the country. Now, if you're a concert pianist or a singer who's going to sing opera, that was perfect. But for me, I already had bands, and I was playing in clubs and frat houses and every weekend. But the music theory, the music history, being exposed to other types of music,
Right.
singing in the choir, it's where I met my wife. So above anything else, that was the greatest thing. But to the giants of music that have lasted centuries, Beethoven, Bach, and it was a great thing. Now, it's not for everyone. I wouldn't say you have to have a formal education, but I highly recommend it, and I would highly recommend that if there's something else that you are talented at, you should pursue that as well, because you can't always rely on music to pay the rent,
True.
But I do think that as pursuing a career, you have to be a lifer in music. You have to this is what I'm doing with my life, and no looking back. But along the way, you have to develop other skill sets. I mean, I don't look at myself bragging in any way that, well, first of all, I may say this, I'm a singer first. That's what I've always been. And I learned to
Right.
play instruments to accompany myself and to write songs.
True.
There's piano players, keyboardists who can wipe the floor of me, because I'm good for what I do. But I'm okay with that because it works. It works for me. And I would say that you got to develop these other skill sets. Some days I am the singer. I get hired to do backing vocals for another artist. Some days I'm the songwriter. I've had success writing songs and getting them placed and making money that way. Some days I'm the backing musician, and I've been really lucky with that. I play with some of the biggest bands in the world. And then some days I'm a producer and I've produced other acts. So you have to wear a lot of hats, and none of those
Right.
skill sets just fell in my lap. I had to work to get there, and but I enjoy it, and there's still so much more to learn. There's others. I was like, I need to learn how to do this program now because technology moves so fast. You have to keep up.
Absolutely.
True. Multifaceted, really.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we all three of us have a special connection with the Ryan Roxy. You
Thank you, Sheena.
you
Oh
wanna
yeah.
tell your connection?
I just see the comments from all the fans and the viewers, and that's really sweet. That
Sure.
means a lot. It means a lot to me to hear that from you guys. Thank you. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Roxy. Ryan and I did an album back in 1998 in Maui with a legendary producer, Bob Rock, for an artist called Tal Bachman. And Tal Bachman had a huge hit. Some of you may have heard of it, called She's So High. 'Cause she's so high, high above me. She's so lovely, right? So we were there for about almost 3 months making this album. And so Ryan and I were roommates in this house in Maui. And you would think, how awesome is that, to be in Hawaii for almost 3 months. But really, we were working from 11 to 7 every day, except for the
My
weekends.
God.
So we're inside all day. We can see out the control room is plate glass window, Bob Rock Studio. He's up on this hill and called Haiku is the area just off the north shore of Maui where all the surfers are. And you could see the waves.
Oh.
You could see the waves. You could see the whales breaching, and it's like, wow, that's beautiful. But we're inside working, so it didn't matter. It's almost like we could have been anywhere, but that's where Bob lives.
True.
And but it was a fantastic experience, and Ryan was a great roommate. We became great friends, and I did the keyboards and all the backing vocals with Tal on that album. So look it up. It's a great album. It was on Columbia Records, and like I said,
Awesome.
it's, I don't know if Tal ever did another album. We lost touch because, you move on to the next project. And, Chris Wise was also, I forgot to mention that. Chris Wise was the bass player on that album. That's how Chris and I met. And we thought,
Oh, wow.
oh man, we're going to work a lot together. And then after we did that album and it ended, we never worked together again until the Hollywood Vampires. And so when I heard Chris got the gig with the Hollywood Vampires in 2018, I called him up and I said, hey man, well, it's about time we got back together. And so that was a great reunion. And Chris is also an amazing artist in his own right with his own music. And, he can play the bass like nobody. I mean, he can rock out, he can play stand up with a bow and do all these crazy things with it. It's very musical and very inspiring. And so, that Hollywood Vampires band, I mean, what can I say, man? It was Tommy Hendrickson and Alice Cooper and Joe Perry and Johnny Depp. It was such a great hang. We had so much fun, and obviously playing together. As musicians, we don't think about egos. If you're really doing it, if you're really being creative and playing with others, you're being inspired by them, but you forget almost that that's Alice Cooper or that's Johnny Depp. We're just in a band, and it's kind of surreal and strange, but it's a bonding, connecting thing. And so I'm really thankful that I got to be a part of that.
You guys are amazing.
So
One of my favorite bands for sure.
Thank you.
Amazing.
And so
Definitely.
let's look at this. In 2014, we were visiting Birmingham for Mother's Day, and you get a call from the legend Steven Tyler himself saying, "Is this Huck Johnston?" So tell us about that.
Well, I've told the story before, but I think it's worth repeating only because it's dreams do come true. I mean, I've always managed to work throughout my career. I've worked with some really incredible artists over the years, and I've had my own bands and had success doing that. And throughout those years, it's all about relationships, and anything you do in life, if we always say and I digress here for a second to set this up because it's important. I think it's important to know that you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not a good person, you're really not going to be successful. They'll catch up with you. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
being the kind of person that people want to work with, you're a good person. You're not, it's not about you. There's no small parts. It's like, what does this song need? I serve the song. The song doesn't really need keyboards in this section, so I'm not going to play. It's
Right.
things like that. And that is also part of your personality, because you're living with these people on a tour bus or an airplane. And that's important. So I think that having those relationships, I met this guy years ago, Marty Fredrickson, who is a songwriter producer. He's produced a lot of, he co-wrote Jaded with Steven, and he was co-producer on a few of their albums. And I knew Marty because he's the one who recommended me to Steven, by the way. So that's where this is going. Marty produced and co-wrote this band called Brother Kane. It's a band from Birmingham, which included my one of my dearest friends, the legendary, talented guitarist and singer Damon Johnson. Same last name, but not related. So that's how I knew Marty. I lived in LA for many years, and I knew Marty. We liked each other, but we never, had the opportunity to work together. Well, Marty now lives in Nashville, where I live, Music City. And so I guess the time came where, Aerosmith is about to start their European tour in Istanbul, and they needed a keyboard player. So I'm in Alabama visiting my mom for Mother's Day. And her Mother's Day wish was for me and her and my dad to sing in the church like we did when I was a kid, a couple songs. And I said, sure, Mom, I'll be there for you. And so we're getting dressed and getting ready to go. And she's, she's the piano player, so she has to be out there for the beginning of the service. And then out of the blue, I get the call from Steven, because I didn't know if I was going to ever get the call. I hear these things happen sometimes. You never know. It's like, well, it may or may not happen.
True.
And Aerosmith, let me just say, is like growing up in Alabama, singing gospel music and blues. There was those bands that were influenced by that. The English bands like the Stones, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Faces, Free, that had soul, and were rock bands, and that I was drawn to. And then the American bands like Aerosmith were equally or even more so. And Aerosmith was an important band to me in my life as a kid. I mean, I loved Aerosmith. So it really was a dream gig for me. But anyway, so I get the call and I tell Mom, hey, you need to go on. I'll catch up with you. I got to take this call, because it was like, is this Bug Johnson? And he's calling from Istanbul, I'm like, oh, this is weird and cool, and so we talked for a minute, just kind of vibe on each other. And it seems like, well, it was not a sure thing until there was a few hiccups, like they had to make sure I could get they could get a work visa for the Moscow show for me, to get a Russian visa and all these other things, a lot of details, things like that. But after service, my wife and I drove back to Nashville, and we get home, and then I see that I get the ticket confirmation to the flight to Istanbul. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going. So I basically had, I got to eat dinner. I've got to pack. I've got to download whatever albums on my phone I don't have of Aerosmith, as much as I can grab. I had to start charting as best I could. And I made it just in time to take a shower and not sleep, to be taken to the airport the next morning. And so then the flight to Istanbul, I'm not really sleeping because I am thinking about listening to music. I'm still making more charts. I had an iPad that I was translating and making notes. And get to Istanbul, and then, I'm just pure on adrenaline, right? And then check into the hotel, and then they take me to the venue, where it was like a rehearsal production day at the venue in Istanbul. So I meet, I'm kind of in a daze because I hadn't slept in 2 days, and I'm meeting, there's about a crew of 50 people, right? And you're meeting all these people, and it's like, and like, well, Steven wants to meet you, and he wants you guys to sing together, because this all looks good on paper, but we actually have to see if it's going to work, right? So they gave me an acoustic, and we went to his dressing room, and we sang what was it? Let's not even prepare for this. I can't even play it. Sorry. Forget it. I'm blowing it.
It's all right. It's all
I'll look it
right.
up later,
That was-
okay? No. So
that
we
was
sang.
awesome.
No, it wasn't awesome. But we sang "Crying," which has one of the higher harmony parts, right? And I'm up
Yeah.
there and Robert Plant range, and he wants you to sing
Yeah.
it full voice like he sang it on his albums, and he had to make sure I could hit the notes, and not just hit the notes, but sing it with some soul and project and follow him with phrasing and articulations, right? And so
Right.
we sing the song, and we get to the end of the first chorus, and he just stops. And Stephen has a huge heart. He gets really emotional sometimes, and his eyes kind of well up. And it's like he goes, "Where have you been?" And I get all emotional because this is a huge moment for me, obviously, and so I just said, "Hey, man, waiting for this moment to happen, right?" And so we hug it out, and then we talk some more and sing a few more songs, and he's excited. And then I jam with the band, and one of the songs we jammed on was "Jaded." And there's a part in the song live where the band stops and Steven's holding the note, and I'm a third above him, and
Wow.
and we're just holding the note, right? Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to do that because it's the first time I ever played it live with him, right? Because I'm playing acoustic on that one.
True.
And
true.
so we get to that, and he stops, and he's holding the note, and he's looking at us like he's acting like he's looking at his watch, and I'm about to pass
Right.
out, but I'm damn sure not going to let go of this note, And so I held it. The band comes back in, and then the whole band turns around and smiles at me, and I'm like, well, I guess I got the gig. So that was a great feeling, and those guys have been so good to me. I can't say enough about them. They're legends, and for any band to last as long as they have, only the Stones and Aerosmith, and if you hand select of others, AC/DC, and they're so inspiring, and you learn so much, and the thing is when you're the side man, you got to know your role and your place, and know that you don't want to be the whack-a-mole. You don't want to be the person that's sticking his head up, and you just do your job, and that's what I try to do. I try to show up and be as excellent as I can be, because the music deserves it, and those guys deserve it. And so they get the best of me they can get, and it's a blast, so but
Wow.
now 2014,
Yeah.
time flies, and hopefully we'll be back. There's dates. If you look on the website, there are dates that were supposed to happen in 2020 that are rescheduled for this year, for
Yeah.
June and July.
Yeah.
And, we're keeping our fingers crossed that those happen, because no one knows. We'll see.
True. That is true. Wow. That is such an inspiring story, actually. And how was the experience of sharing the stage with Steven Tyler, your hero, obviously, and inspiration, and singing the songs of Aerosmith and the hero himself? Because generally we hum and croon their songs, and now you're singing those same songs on stage with him. How is that feeling, and facing the crowd for the first time? How was it?
It was amazing. I've over the years, I've played, some amazing places like the Royal Albert Hall and Radio City Music Hall, and
Wow.
when you get to Madison Square Garden, and with other acts, and that was amazing, points in my career. But I didn't care where we were with Aerosmith, just get to sing those songs with Steven, because again, I'm a singer who plays, and it was. I get giddy when I think about it, because it's so much fun. I mean, you got to imagine, it's like incredible. I'm further back upstage, and so I don't get to be in touch with the fans as much, but that's okay, because I'm all about playing with this band. We're having our own little thing going on up here, and and there's a lot. My mix, I have in-ear mix that sounds like a live album. It's incredible. So, of course, I hear more of me because I need to. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Just you play someplace like Rock in Rio, and it's 150,000 people, screaming.
True.
It's pretty massive. So it's yeah, it's overwhelming.
Definitely. So what took you to Hollywood Vampires, and how did you get the gig?
Well, obviously,
at
because Joe Perry's in the Hollywood Vampires, he brought me in. They changed it up for their got ready to make the second album and to go back out on the road. So Glenn Sobel from Alice Cooper's band was brought in to be the drummer, and Chris Wise, the bass player, and Joe. And Tommy Hendrickson is the band leader, and he produced the Rise, the second album, and he co-wrote most all the songs. There's a few covers on there, but he saw me play with Aerosmith and thought, hey, this guy would be great, and such a great band, just me and Chris and Glenn and Tommy in itself is a great band. But when you add in those legends, it's just stupid, it's so good. And, I get to play a Hammond B3 and,
wow.
And have a keyboard on top of it that I use. And that's pretty much the setup that I use now with Aerosmith. I have this, it's the Kronos, this guy right here by Korg. I play, I'm a Korg artist, so I give them props. But the Kronos, this is the 76 version. I have an 88 version that I play on stage. It sits on top of the B3. And it's like 4 keyboards in one because it has so much that it can do. So it's pretty incredible. But that's the other thing, it's not just playing, it's learning the mapping. Some songs you have 3 or 4 different sounds going on. That, okay, I need to go up here for this part of the song or down here. So it's more than just playing the parts sometimes. And I have a great group of support around me live. Bruce Hendricks, aka Haystacks, is my guy for the Aerosmith and the Hollywood Vampires, and he's brilliant. And so he makes sure everything is running great. And I get to play acoustic on a few songs on both bands. So it's to get to play with share the stage with Alice Cooper up front on a couple songs is always fun. But playing Seasons of Wither is awesome. And Jaded is fun. I play on that one. And it's got a little bit of everything.
True. That is so true. So do you have to reset the patches on the keyboard for Hollywood Vampires and then again, change the patches for Aerosmith again?
Well, again, the Kronos, it's a computer. So it has, you load in a different file that has all the settings. Cool. It'll say Aerosmith 2019, because maybe this tour we're doing different songs, or for the residency, it was a different setup because it was just a different way of doing things. And I would say, both bands in today's world where a lot of people are using tracks, there are a couple songs that Aerosmith has to use because of the strings, like Don't Want to Miss a Thing. But for better or worse, we're singing and playing everything, and I think it's for the better because it makes not every show the same. You never know what you're going to get. It's in the moment. And that keeps you on your toes, makes it fun. But yes, you'd have different files for, it'll automatically know, all right, that I have a list here of each song and it's color coded and and we augment as we go if we need to make changes. If the sound man says, that patch there's too loud or it's too dark sounding, can you brighten it up? And we're able to go in and within each sound, it's got all these different parameters like EQs and compressors and delays and effects, and it's kind of a lot. So I have someone who's an expert at it help
True.
me out.
Yeah,
True.
that's so tell me, how do you deal with performance anxiety? But before that, I find it really funny and let's say relatable, like what you did right after your first performance with Aerosmith. Do you remember that?
Oh, well, the first performance it was not Istanbul. It was Sofia, Bulgaria, because I have to tell this little bit of the story. After I jammed with the band, I met Haystacks, and he's from West Virginia, and he goes, "You got so much to learn. I don't know where to begin." And so they brought a keyboard and a laptop so I could get a show file from last year to here to isolate, a Pro Tools session. I could isolate what was played and sung by the previous guy, and so I spent the third night in a row not sleeping, listening and making notations and charting. So I was supposed to meet Haystacks for breakfast at 10 a.m. because then we were going to go to the venue, get me set up with my in-ears and make sure I'm cool there because for shows that night. And I called him up and said, "Hey man, if I don't get 3 hours of sleep, I'm not going to make it. I hadn't slept in 3 days." And he goes, "Okay, well, you're going to fall hard. I'm going to make sure we're going to wake you up." And sure enough, it was like, you're dreaming and a distant phone is getting closer and closer ringing. And finally, he said it must have rang 25 times before I picked up. And I picked up and he says,
My God.
"Buck, you need to get up, get dressed, and pack your bags. There's been a bombing accident and there's riots in the streets. We got to get out of here."
Oh, man.
Well, I actually thought I was still dreaming first. And then he said it again. I'm like, "Oh, is he punking me?" And I'm like, "Well, no, he wouldn't do that." So I got, okay, and, unfortunately, a tremendous tragedy that happened in Istanbul where 300 miners lost their lives. And it was a national day of mourning there. So they canceled the concert. And so it gave me 2 more days, though, to rest and work on the songs. So Sofia, Bulgaria was the first show, and got through it okay. Not too many mistakes, a few, but after the show, when the show's done, the band leaves the stage, gets in the cars, goes to the airport. At that time, my first tour, I was riding with the crew. Now I ride with the band. So when we were done, the crew immediately, they're like ants. They just start breaking everything down. No one's talking. They're doing their job. Well, I'm by myself, and I'm like, no one's going, "Hey, man, you did it. Great job,"
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know what just happened, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it was good. Maybe it wasn't, because I didn't get a chance to get really a proper sound check or anything. And it was like, wow, this is strange. And I think at my adrenaline that was going so far, finally, after the show, you decompress, and I just wanted to puke. So I called my wife and I said, "Hey, I don't know what just happened, but who knows? I could be going home tomorrow." And within an hour, the show is already up on YouTube, different songs from people's phones, right? Yeah. And so she calls me back and she says, "Hey, babe, I think you did all right. Sounds pretty good to me." I'm like, "Really? All right. Well," so, of course, I never think it's as good as it could be, but I'm like, okay, it's acceptable. Still lots to learn and get better at. And, it took me 2 or 3 shows to really get it down. And so, that was weird.
Awesome, but cool. Yeah. Funky, you were asking.
Yeah, so the original question was, how do you deal with performance anxiety?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, that was very, a lot of anxiety going to that one show. You know what? I think having a little anxiety, a little butterflies is always good because you want to stay on your toes and be ready, but you can't let it get the best of you. I think being prepared is the best thing you can do. I heard one of my mentors told me, 10 hours of preparation for every 1 hour of performance. So whatever that means, you got to do. I go into a show, I feel like I need to know these songs inside and out, maybe even better than the band if I can, because I'm not going to let them down, and I'm not going to let this music down. So I put a lot of time in being prepared. You know, there's a lot that goes into, even before we go into the first rehearsal. And even
Wow.
then, it's
Yeah.
like maybe I spend hours working on it just so that I don't have to worry. You know, that takes a lot of anxiety away when you're prepared. So I think that's the main thing. The second thing is, you know, take care of yourself. You know, everyone thinks it's a party out on the road. It's a job, and your job, it's fun, but you got to take care of yourself mentally and physically. And that means, you know, staying healthy, exercising, eating right. You know, don't overdo it, indulge in whatever that is. And, you know, for singers, it's drinking lots of water. And, you know,
Wow.
and, you know, and I try to do my own kind of meditative thing. You know, it's different for everybody. But just, you know, some deep breaths and meditate a little bit before the craziness goes on stage, you know. So when you're on stage, you're ready to give it 100%. And you're not thinking
True.
or worrying about other things going on. You leave that all behind, you know. And I think the pros do that. You know, Aerosmith, they may, whatever problems they may have going on in their lives or between them as a band, because bands are always, they're like brothers. You know, they love each other, but there's always a little fighting going on. But
Yeah.
when they hit the stage, man, all that goes away, you know. You're in that moment, you know,
Right.
and it's, you know, just be there.
True. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Right. So true.
Yeah,
So
and
true.
it's not only when it comes to, you know, performance anxiety. It's not only about performing on stage. For example, Kanak and I, you know, we have this show and we have to at least prepare for the show, like at least for a couple of days,
Yeah, sure.
search everything, and of course, before every show, at least 15 minutes before the show, there's, you know, we're nervous, there's anxiety, but you know, it all goes away with time. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's true in whatever it is you do in life, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
So I think, yeah, good.
we
Good,
have
good.
questions from the people
Yeah.
as well, so I would like to ask that.
Definitely.
Giant Collection from Instagram asks, what are your favorite songs to play live and why? With Hollywood Vampires and Aerosmith.
You know, I get that question a lot, and it's hard for me to answer because on some nights it's one song, other nights it's another, you know. You know, I love it when Johnny sings, just because, you know, the fans really love to hear him sing. And at first he didn't really want to, and we had to talk him into it. And but
Okay.
obviously Heroes is fun to play, and People Who Died, because
I
he's
knew
so
it.
good. He's so good at that one. You know, playing anything that Alice Cooper can sing, like when he does The Doors, a different side of him comes out, and that's always, it's just interesting to me. Him playing blues harp, you know, things like that is always a lot of fun. And you know, we do in the
Right.
Vampire Show, that tour we did Combination, which is I love that Aerosmith song, and it features Joe. And because Aerosmith doesn't really play, at least when I've been in the band, we didn't play that very much, hardly ever. So I get to play that song in the Vampires, which is a lot of fun. With Aerosmith, you know, it again, it changes. You can't help but get chills whenever the band plays Dream On, even though I don't sing on that song. There's no harmony, and I don't really play on it till the end, but it's still such a great moment, you know, because the song is, I don't know what to say. It's incredible. It's going to stand the test of time. You know, singing songs like Crying, because it's vocal heavy, is fun for me to sing. But I tend to lean to the older Aerosmith songs, you know, for me personally. I love it all, but you know, anything off Rocks or Toys in the Attic, I'm going to love to play. And hopefully, you know, they'll do more of the deeper cuts, you know, because we play the other songs so much. When you get to play those deeper cuts, you don't get to play them as often, you know, so it's like a fun thing, a challenge almost.
Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome. And what is your favorite song to listen to? That's a question from Jackie Kowal.
My favorite song to listen to? Oh
That's
man.
an in general question.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to sound like this is an ego thing, but whenever I've written a new song and I hear it
Yeah.
back and I think this is a pretty good song. Not every song is a good song. Some of them are just B songs. Some of them are crap. A lot of them are crap. But when I get a good one and I listen back to it, I'm like, yeah. And it's not about me because I'm a collaborator. I co-write, and that's just the way I've always been because I've always been in bands. And and when you find those collaborative people that really, it's like a chemistry thing, And
True.
so, I get to work with some amazing writers. One of the writers I've written hundreds of songs with for 20 years is this guy, Charlie Midnight, who is in LA, and we write more now because of Skyping and FaceTime and than we did when I lived in LA. But Charlie, he wrote and produced James Brown. He wrote Living in America. He wrote and produced Joe Cocker. He wrote a song that
Wow.
Joni Mitchell recorded because she loved his lyric. He worked with Hilary Duff, produced and wrote her first album and second album, and Barbara Streisand, and Doobie Brothers, and then a lot of rock bands. So he's done a lot of different things, and he's one of the great American songwriters that I get to write with, and so we still write. We just wrote a song the other day that I think is really good. So, I don't look at it as like, this is what I did. It's like what we did. And it's fun to hear it back. So, or if I hear a new song on the radio, I don't listen to a ton of radio now, but when I do check in and hear something that's good, I crank it. So it could be anything, Sometimes when you're working with a band like Aerosmith and you get to play those shows, you have a different mindset, or Hollywood Vampires. You're working, constructing, deconstructing, and making sure your parts you've got them perfect. And maybe I don't want to hear that song. It's not in my off time. I love the song, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it till I get to the stage, so I'm not already sick of it. You know what I mean?
True. We get you. Yeah.
I hope that answers that question. I don't know. Music it's a mixed bag, man. It's like, I don't know.
It does.
I hear something that sounds good. I like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
Turn that up. Who is that? Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
We have 2 more questions from the people, and then we can continue.
Yeah.
Under Slim Home asks, do you have any pets?
Yes, we have 2 dogs, 2 rescues. We have O.C. May. O.C. May is a Yorkie, and she's let's see if I have a photo of O.C. May. Hang on, I'll show them to you really quick. Sure. O.C. May was lost in the big flood of Nashville in 2010, and a friend that works at a vet hospital said, "You got to come get this dog, O.C. May." So anyway, we love O.C. May. She's 16, so she's old grandma, and we have a Chihuahua named Cowboy, and he's a rescue. He was rescued from a puppy mill, so he had a really hard life in his first part of his life. So we spoil him. There's O.C. May. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, she's a cutie.
Adorable.
And here's Cowboy.
Oh, look at that fella.
So, when I'm on the road and I'm away from my wife, she has 2 little babies to keep her company and snuggle with.
Yeah, that's and one more question. Kanak, you can go ahead with this one.
Okay, have you ever lost an instrument or a piece of gear that you regret losing and want it back?
Well, I think that's true. If you do this long enough for any musician, it happens. You're in a band and traveling in a van with a trailer, and you get gear stolen. That's happened. We had some amps and a lighting console stolen.
No.
I've had a Martin guitar. It wasn't like an expensive one, but it was like a good one. It was probably worth $1,500 or something, but
Yeah,
Oh.
I lost it, you know. And then I've gotten rid of
Yeah.
gear that I wish I hadn't sold that, you know.
Mhm.
But there are times when you're starving and you needed money. It's like, well, it's either this guitar or it's rent, you know, and that's happened.
Mm.
So I've sold a couple
Mm.
guitars and that I wish I hadn't, you know. But you
Right,
know,
right.
I don't have a lot of guitars right now. I have a Telecaster, and I've got this Martin, and
Wow.
so anyway, it's just for me to do when I do songwriter rounds. I play and I write on the acoustic, and then you know,
What model is that one?
this one, you know, it's a D18. No, D28.
Oh,
D28. Sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yep.
It's got a great tone though.
I love it. You know, it's a newer one, but you know, I got a good pickup in it, and so you know, yeah.
What strings do you use on it?
I use medium gauge, you know, because I play hard, you know,
Right.
and so for rhythm I like a fuller sound. You know, I don't solo.
Right.
You know, I'm not that good. I'm good on rhythm. I'm a good
Come
rhythm
on.
player, but yeah.
That's awesome. And
So-
but
so-
have you ever taught anyone how to play an instrument?
Not as far as formal lessons. I've thought about it. I mean, I've thought about teaching voice or teaching basic piano, but you know, I've shown people like, here's what you should try to do. You know, you should try to, like with singing, it's all about posture and singing using your breath. And because if you're slumping, you're losing 40% of your sound, you know, so it's good posture and, you know, singing using your diaphragm and singing with, you know, getting good breaths and singing on the breath. There's a few things that I've shared with people. Hopefully it helped them, that helped me, you know. When I was in college, I studied voice, and it was a good foundation to build off of, you know.
Yeah, that's
It's-
awesome.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Like my
Beautiful.
voice teacher, when he first heard me sing, he says, "Okay, I'm going to teach you what you already know, show you what you already know, and we're going to help you
What's
avoid
that?
some, well, just things like this is what, because I've been singing all my life." He said, "Well, this is what's working. This is what you're doing that's right, you know, and so keep doing that."
Uh-huh.
But we need to stop doing this, you know, because that's going to damage you
Okay.
down the road, you know, and you know, keeping your shoulders,
Yeah.
and when you breathe, you shouldn't see your shoulders move. Make sure you're using your diaphragm, you know. And so for the first 2
Right.
weeks, it was just breathing exercises every day until that
True.
becomes, you're doing it without even thinking about it.
True,
Yeah, I
true.
think it could be an amazing future, either if it comes, you know, to singing or keyboards or whatever. So yeah, and I had a question. I forgot.
Good.
If you have a question, go
It's
ahead.
all right. I do have a question because Mr. Johnson is also involved in his solo projects, heavily involved actually, and his albums are already out, like Enjoying the Ride and The Morning After. So would you like to tell us
a
about
minute.
those albums? Yeah.
The morning after is not me.
Really?
The morning, yeah, the
Oh
morning.
gosh.
No, it's okay. It's happened before. There's another guy named Buck Johnson, he's from
So
Texas,
confused.
and you'll see he looks nothing like me. You know, he's a Texas
Right.
Texas cowboy, you know,
Right.
Western singer, and yeah, that's him. That's not me.
Don't be confused by that, folks.
No,
Like we were.
no.
Don't be confused.
It's way nothing. Hey, what that guy does is great, but it's nothing like what I do. So okay, just put
That is
that out
true.
there. I mean, if you like country, western, Texas music, that's for you. But I'm more Enjoying the Ride is my last album, and that came out in 2016, and that was an album that I had for a while before I released it, and it was done in Nashville and in LA, and it was a little more of I wouldn't say it was country, but certainly more southern, some of the players I
Right.
used. Kenny Aronoff, great legendary drummer, is on there. Some great Nashville musicians that I've used are on there as well. And Waddy Wattel, guitar player, is on there. And so, it was fun making that. And but I never think about what's done. I'm moving forward. I'd made an album last year in between Aerosmith residencies, and I had it mastered and ready to release, and then the pandemic hit. So I'm sitting on an album, and it's more of a rock album, bluesy rock. I'm a kid from Alabama, and so it's got some soul to it. But it's I've got that, and since the pandemic, I've written so many songs. I'm like, well, maybe I have another album. I don't know. I may just start releasing singles. Who knows? I've got material. I could probably release singles for the next 3 years, and then every month. I don't know.
Wow.
I'm not bragging. It's just that, look, this is just what people in Music City, they write every day. I don't do that. I work on something different every day, which keeps it exciting and fun. But I'm just, look, and there's an album done. I probably got enough for another album. And so maybe one day I'll figure it out soon. Once things get back to normal, like I've said, then, we'll put that music out. So I don't want to keep teasing everybody like, oh, just wait, it's coming. It's a hard thing, because some people do it differently. And I think because my situation, I didn't want to release the music and it just to be out there, just to be, I don't know, out there in the white noise of everything else. I wanted to have something behind it, some support to really get it, what it just, the support that the music deserves.
Yes. And it is a brilliant album, by the way. Enjoying
Thank
the
you.
ride.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Folks,
Thank you.
The Spotify link and everything is socials of Mr. Buck Johnson is already in the description of this video, and I am going to put that up here as well. So do go
Awesome.
and listen to the album and visit the website as well. You're gonna love it for sure.
All right. Well, thank you
Wow.
for that plug, man. I appreciate that.
Totally. Yeah.
Guys, have any other questions? Anything else I can help answer? Or
Totally. I do have a question.
Yeah.
We have a lot of questions actually.
oh no, hey, I'm all yours. Let's do it. I got nowhere to go.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a part 2 as well, like a part 2. But we have a question in the comments, and I'm interested in it. So
Okay.
Cool, go ahead.
first, maybe.
Can you sing for us?
Okay.
Gosh. Cool.
Well, I'll tell you
That's
what.
cool.
I'll have to make up for trying to play Crying because I was in the wrong key, but I'm not going to play that one because no one can sing it better than Steven Tyler. Nobody, right? But I will sing a song that I did write that you mentioned that was recorded by Carlos Santana that Steven Tyler did end up singing. But since I was the co-writer on it, I feel like I'm allowed to sing it. So,
Sure.
but
Go for it.
this song, it's called Just Feel Better. And, it was amazing to me when I heard that, Carlos Santana is going to cut it as a single, which was unbelievable, and we didn't know if it was going to be a single. We just knew he was going to cut it. And that was good enough for me. And then I heard they're going to get Steven Tyler to sing it. I was like, oh my God, unbelievable. Well, when I got the Aerosmith gig, when I met Steven, I never mentioned it. I didn't want to be braggy or be that guy, right? So about a month into the tour, when I'm getting to know everybody really well and we're hanging out after the show and talking, it eventually came up in conversation. And so the next day, we're at a show and Steven's assistant says, I know a secret about Buck. And Steven goes, what?
Ah,
And I'm like, tell him, Buck, didn't you write a song that he sang? And then Steven was like, what? And I told him, I said, yeah, Just Feel Better. I was a writer on that. And he goes, oh, he said, play it. So I picked up a guitar, and fortunately, sometimes you write a lot of songs and in that moment, maybe I don't remember the second verse or the chords, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so hopefully I won't forget the words now.
It's
And
all right.
I didn't really warm up. I'm trying not to qualify anything, but it is still morning here, and so I'll do the best I can. But this is
Yeah.
just
You
feel
could
better.
play one chord and we'll feel better.
All right. She said, I feel stranded. I can't tell anymore if I'm coming or I'm going. It's not how I planned it. I got a key to the door, but it just won't open. And I know, part of me says let it go. If it happens for a reason, I don't, cause it never worked before. This time, gonna try anything to just feel better. Tell me what to do. You know I can't see through the haze around me, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Well, I can't find my way. Gotta need a change, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Anything to just feel better. She said, I need you to hold me. I'm a little far from the shore, and I'm afraid of sinking. You're the only one who knows me, and who doesn't ignore that my soul is weeping. And I know, part of me says let it go. Everything must have its season. Around it goes. Every day's the one before. This time, gonna try anything to just feel better. But tell me what to do. You know I can't see through the haze around me, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Well, I can't find my way. Gotta need a change, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Any little thing to just feel better. I'm tired of holding on to all the things that I leave behind. It's really getting old. I think I need a little help this time. Well, tell me what you do. You know I can't see through the haze around me, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Well, I can't find my way. Gotta need a change, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Tell me what to do. You know I can't see through the haze around me, and I'll do anything to just feel better. Any little thing to just feel better. Ooh. Ooh.
Wow.
Gosh! Woo! Man! Gosh. Blown away.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's I keep telling myself I should start doing more, even if it's just cover songs, doing some more live stuff on the internet. But you know what? I just honestly, guys, like I was talking about before, living in the moment and not worrying about what came before, you know. And I use that quote. I forget who it is. If you're worrying about, if your expectation is for something that's going to happen, if you're doing it for something that's going to happen in the future, you're not doing it. You know, you got to be in the
Yeah.
moment, right? So every morning I wake
Right.
up, I have my coffee, little breakfast, play with the dogs, and take the dogs for a walk. And then I come into the studio. Maybe I have a session to write, or maybe I'm working on a song because I have a studio here, and I'm working on these demos. And next thing I know, it's dinner time, and I didn't go on social media. I didn't post any songs. But you know what? I don't beat myself up about it because I'm being creative. And I think as long as you're being creative in whatever it is you're doing, it's all good, man. You know, just,
That's true.
you know, don't worry about what's going to come of it. Just do it, you know? And so, you know, it keeps my spirits and hopes up that, you know, if I come up with another decent idea and I write a song that I think's pretty decent, then that makes me feel like I did something worthwhile, you know? Hopefully it's something that somebody else can hear and be inspired by it or enjoy it. But you know,
Definitely.
that's what it's all about. You know, you want to share with others what God has given you and enjoy. And you know, and it's for another reason, because certainly we don't always make money at this, you know. But that's okay. But thank you
Yeah.
for the compliments from the fans. That means a lot. Thank
Yes, totally. And I dare not ask any other question after this wonderful performance, and because I so don't want to lose and ruin this moment. And this is such a high note, and you know, gosh, you have given such a blessing to us through this performance and your words as well. And thank you so much for spending your hour with us this morning. And it has been such a pleasure and honor that you came on and accepted our invite and shared your knowledge, wisdom, and experiences, stories with us. And well, but we do have more questions, and you know,
Hey, for
we
another
we
for another
yes,
time, you know, we're friends
yes.
now, and I love being here. Thank you guys. Listen, I hope
Thank
I get to
you.
meet you both in person sometime soon down the road, and maybe at a show.
Sure,
And but yeah,
sure.
it's been a pleasure. I love your spirit, and so
Thank you.
it's really cool to get to talk to everybody around the world.
Ye-
And thank you, Jackie. You know, and so maybe we'll do part two. So
Yes,
thanks to all you guys. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
lot of fun, definitely. And before we go, for the
Oh,
folks
here a
in the
little plug for
chat.
my buddy.
Oh yeah.
I just played on this album that he's recording. Tony
Oh,
Marsico's band, the Cruzados. They were a legendary LA rock band back in the day, and he
so
decided
cool.
during the pandemic to make another album. So I just played on some of the songs, and it sounded really cool. So have to look for that.
Oh, oh
Mhm.
wow. Is it out?
No, they're still working on it. You know, I just did the
Okay, all
tracks last week. They sent them to me, and I did them here, and they sent them back, and I'm just like, oh, this is really
awesome.
cool. But you can look up the Cruzados. They were, you
Yes,
know, the
definitely.
legendary LA rock band. I played with Tony on the road with other artists. You know,
Awesome.
so that's how we met.
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll
Sure.
make sure to promote it later on. And I also have to say that I'm gonna leave my
Yes,
question for part two as
Okay.
well. And before that, thank you
definitely.
for coming on. And hopefully both of us will get to see you guys live, or especially meet you
Yeah.
one day.
I
Yeah,
hope so. And in the meantime, I'd love to hear from everybody on social media, and I promise to get back to you as best I can. Either Instagram.
Sure.
I do have some live videos I posted with the band that
Yes.
I recorded with, and just so you know, those are live performances. They're just done individually differently. I don't know if people kind of understand that
Like,
you can't perform live separately online because of the latency. It's impossible.
yeah.
So what we did is I recorded myself to a click track, and then
Yeah.
playing the song live, one performance, and then I sent it to my drummer. He performed it playing live to me, and then he sent it to the bass player, and he performed it live, and then the guitar player. So we each played it live,
Wow.
but separately. So that's the best we can do for now, but I think it came out pretty cool, and so you can check that
Really
out.
cool.
Yeah, there's some songs on there you can check out, and a couple of them are from what is on the new album. You just hear a live version of it now. So
Yeah,
Awesome.
totally. Buck Johnson live sessions that happen on Instagram as well.
yeah,
And it's really cool. And these are Buck Johnson's socials, so do go follow Buck on Twitter. This is the Facebook and Instagram, and obviously the website buckjohnson.com. And in the description you'll find all these links, and also Spotify with it. So please follow, and we'll stay in touch. Mr. Johnson, thank you so much.
I hope so.
Once
Thank you,
again.
guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Love to
And,
you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. And once again, thanks a lot on everyone's behalf. And thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next week.
Okay.
And ciao for now.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace.